Hey everybody, welcome back to I Know a Guy. If you're new here, my name's Anthony. I am a business profit advocate. On this show, we interview entrepreneurs, business owners, professionals, and just people doing cool things. For example, today I'm thrilled to introduce Georges Cordoba. He's a renowned health coach, best-selling author, and a true advocate for holistic health. With his transformative 90-day coaching program and inspiring book, Beating the Odds, Georges empowers individuals to prevent disease, heal, and achieve their best health. How are you doing today, Georges?
Very good, Anthony. Thank you for having me in your show.
Yeah,
Appreciate
no.
it.
After we talked last, I was super excited. I think more people need to hear you. You have an awesome story. You went through quite a lot. You've kind of landed where you are, out of experience, not just something that you heard about, but something that you lived about. So I think
hmm
that's important. But start off. Where are you calling in from? Where are you located?
I'm in Las Cruces, New Mexico, the state of New Mexico. And yeah, I went to school, came to school here and back in the day. I'm an athlete. I played NCAA Division One tennis back in '84. Well, actually graduated in '84. And 2 years, 2.5 years ago, my wife and I, the kids are all on their own. We're grandparents already. And so we decided to move back from Florida to New Mexico 2.5 years ago. We love it here.
Okay.
You know, it's
I've driven through New Mexico. I never stayed very long. I think it was just like a quick couple hours on the way through.
Mhm.
What's fun there? What do you recommend people do when they're visiting?
Oh boy, this is well, actually, if anybody has traveled to Spain, to Europe, this is very similar. The only difference here is that there's some amazing energy here. So once you get to New Mexico, that's what they call it. They call it the theme is the land of enchantment. If you look at the license plates, it's the land of enchantment. You can do snow skiing. You could go and do dripping springs. You can go into there's camping, fishing, rivers, hiking for sure. There's some amazing mountains. You see that one that I have behind. That's about 6 miles from the backyard of my house. Actually, I was biking and stopped and took a picture because it's really breathtaking. And as you go, I'm in the south, the most southern point of the state. But as you start driving north or east west, it's fascinating. You in Spain, it's the same thing. You start seeing like alp trees and mountains that are basically snowed. There's a lot of snow skiing. There's 4 or 5 spots in the state that have some good skiing, and then Taos, which is in the border with Colorado. Well, that one it's amazing. It's not an easy, let's say, place for beginners or intermediate. That's tough skiing up there. But yeah, there's spas, retreats in Santa Fe. Very nice state. If you could actually spend 10 days and let's say in a UV going around, and you still need time to, you know, to really enjoy the state. There's a good combination of Native Americans, Apaches, Navajos, Mexicans. New Mexico, just like Texas and California and Arizona, was Mexico before. So there's a Mexican influence here, and then Anglo. So it's really an interesting mix in the whole state. A lot of the streets are in Spanish, just like in Phoenix and California. So you can see that Mexican stuff still even now, 90 days and 90 years later, when New Mexico became a territory of the United States, and same with the other states. Yeah, but it's beautiful. You can do some great stuff here.
So what I heard there at the end is you're saying there's good food.
Oh yeah, that is. I missed that, but there's very good food.
Yeah,
Yes.
I got you. Awesome. Yeah, I love skiing. I haven't been in years, and it's kind of haphazard the way that I do it. So I might have to do on some of the more, the pedestrian
Yeah,
slopes.
there's a
Avoid the
beautiful.
hard ones.
Yeah, there's a beautiful place. It's called Sierra Blanca in this town, and by the name Ruidoso, and it's very famous for it's that one. You have different loops or whatever. Uh, Intermediate, uh, beginners, and then advanced. They have it with colors. The black things, or the green or whatever. Yeah.
Okay. So your personal health journey is truly inspiring. Can you share a little bit about how that shaped, what you're doing now with holistic health and coaching?
Sure. Back in the day, basically, I studied right here in New Mexico. I had a scholarship to play NCAA tennis, so I was able to do my computer science degree, bachelor's, and but I kept playing tennis, and I was a tennis pro at a country club I'm 50 miles from El Paso, Texas. And so I was first an assistant pro, but then the lady left, and I became the head pro, and I did that for a while. Went and played tournaments, trying to play professionally. It didn't work. I had an injury, but also it was very expensive. Back in the day, today it's even worse. It's really tough to tour and try to play qualifying tournaments when just to get there might cost you between flight and hotel or whatever, maybe 3K. And if you lose, you have to go and take the plane and go somewhere else. So I thought, I'm gonna stay teaching. But then I got an offer to work with IBM in Florida. And so we moved to Florida. We had one kid already at that time. And I started my career in technology, programming first, and I became a technical architect. Then IBM did a business deal with Accenture, which is also in consulting for technology that comes from Anderson Consulting in back in the day. And so I had a decision to make. Do I stay technical, or Accenture was actually leading me to get into management? So I went into management, became a junior partner, and my career started progressing in that area, and I ended up being a CTO, Chief Technology Officer. And on my third year, and I'm talking, this is a spread of 25 years, even longer, maybe 30. But at my second or third year as a CTO, I was inflicted with cancer. And I must say that I'm half Greek and half Spanish. My dad's family comes from Madrid, and my mother's from Athens, and they migrated after World War II to Venezuela, South America. Many of our other Greek family members migrated to the States. But in any case, I say this because on the Greek side of the family, since I was 4 years old, and this is important to share, I saw my grandpa, the Greek grandpa, passed of colon cancer. I was 4, and I remember this. If I go into deep meditation, I could actually even see things. That's how powerful the mind is. Then both of his brothers, who also migrated to Venezuela, passed from the same thing, colon cancer. So after that, one of my grandmothers, Greek grandmother, passed from breast cancer. And along the way, I kept growing up seeing my godfather, which was my mother's cousin, also Greek. He passed from cancer, and so forth. Then my uncle, my mother's brother, passed from cancer early, 55 years old. And then my dear mom passed of cancer. And 3 weeks later, I was diagnosed with cancer. This is a span of 42 years, because I was diagnosed at the age of 42. But I want to say this, because if any of you guys, you and your audience, have tapped into this documentary, The Secret, or read the book, I was a perfect example. I always feared cancer. When I looked at my family landscape, and from the Greek side of the family, I thought, man, I'm doomed. Either my sister and I will have it. I mean, this is a reality. Or that was a false belief, but it was a belief that I created, and I had it. And when I was diagnosed, I couldn't even mourn my mom. My kids, I had 5 young kids at the time. They were still mourning their grandma, and now daddy has the disease. So I always thought, man, I'm doomed here. And and it ended up plaguing me. I got diagnosed, and in the beginning, it was the first thought was, I knew it. I knew I was eventually gonna get this, and then I went through all this, emotional roller coaster. Anger also, it can't be denial. Man, they made a mistake. I need to have another biopsy. All the stuff that it goes when nobody wants to hear that they have cancer. I mean, that's a reality. So the first few days, and actually the whole week, and then I would actually in a way miss my mom, because it's something that was natural. I was so close to her, and my kids too. So, but after a little bit, and I actually describe and explain this in my book, I decided I just said, you know what? No, I'm going to beat the odds. I'm going to be the first family member from the Greek side that survives this thing. And I went on my journey. And so, like everybody else, and later on we'll talk about a giveaway, but there's 12 rules of the mind. And one of the rules of the mind that affects all of us, this rules affects everybody because we're all the same soul-wise. But the thing is that our mind goes to what is familiar. And what is familiar in the West is when you get cancer, you go running to an oncologist. There's no other option in our psyche, in our mindset is, wow, let me get recommendations. But that's what we do. We go and get conventional stuff. There's no other. Very few people may think, well, maybe there's other options. We just go there. There's a shock, and you say, well, let's go. This is what everybody does. Let's go and do chemo and radio and see what happens. And so I did the same. And to make it short, on year 8, I battled the disease for 10 years, melanoma, advanced melanoma. It went to my brain. So I had 10 surgeries in 10 years, and 4 of those surgeries were in my brain. And 2 gamma knives, which are also, they call them procedures, surgical procedures, but it's targeted, let's say laser, that goes straight to the tumors. But there's a caveat: the tumor has to be a certain size. If it's too large already, let's say go over like 3 millimeters, it doesn't work. So, but they gave it a try. At the end of the day, I survived. But on year 8, with my first craniotomy, and you can't see these with the camera, but I have several scars in my brain. They gave me this new chemo, quote unquote, that would penetrate the brain. The brain is very, very protective of toxic stuff going in, but this apparently, with the research, it did. So they gave me these capsules, which, by the way, Anthony, each of those capsules were $1,000. Imagine, and I was on year 8. So all my CTO stuff and, 401ks, IRAs, college funds for the 5 kids, we had to tap into that because it came to a point that I was not being able to go to work. I had so many absences, so I decided to resign. And then I just did some consulting from the house if I could, because I had some good, contacts and stuff. But it was something that I don't wish for anybody. It was like a tsunami that came and hit our emotions, our lives, our finances. But on year 8, after I tried these capsules, I had to take Monday to Friday, then take a week break, and then again Monday to Friday. On my second Monday, in other words, my 6th capsule, I really thought this thing was gonna give me a heart attack. I was so anxious and so, I thought, man, this is killing me. And at that point, I just sat and said, this is not working, man. It's 8 years, surgery, treatment, remission, recurrence, surgery, treatment, remission, recurrence. Already 7 years doing that. On year 7, I had 2 surgeries. And so I decided to take the natural route, and I have doctors in the family, and my wife was in the hospital. She at that time as a biologist, but she was working as an ultrasound tech, and so everybody was thinking I was crazy. And hey, that first cardiotomy, maybe he got too many hammer hits in there, but I did it in spite of everybody's comments. I talked to my oncologist. I said, look, I'm gonna stop. He says, are you sure, Georges? You sure you want to stop? And I said, yes, doctor, I feel it's not working for me, but I would appreciate it if you continue to do follow-ups for me. And he agreed. Thank God, he's an angel. And he said, well, if you think, if you see that things are not working for you, you can always get back. Maybe there's something new, a new treatment. So I went on my holistic journey, and from that moment on, everything started happening for me. And I explained in my book, which you mentioned it, but it became bestseller day one in my genre. I was surprised. And then in 4 months later, I launched it in Spanish, which is my first language, and it also makes bestseller. And many people say, well, it's not normal for somebody to just quit, traditional stuff and go and try something else right out of the blue. Obviously, I had I was inclined to that from the beginning because of my tennis. I worked a lot on mental rehearsing, on my nutrition to be having an edge in my matches, But so it wasn't that hard. I did have anxiety, but I'm a person of faith, and I decided to do that. And I have to say that this past July was my 12th year free of cancer. But in that journey, Anthony, I began to wonder, do I go back to be an executive in technology? I love that, but I had kind of like this call. There's a moment in anybody's let's say journey through chronic disease that you realize that you made the disease. Nobody sent it to you, and it's not hereditary. We found that 15 years ago that with epigenetics that cancer, for example, 98% is not of cancers are not hereditary. What's hereditary is your lifestyle, the family culture, and the diets, and Greeks are very excited all the time. It's almost an emotional, the Mediterranean, and the same with the Spaniards in Spain. But at the end of the day, I was always wondering, and it came to the point that when I realized that life doesn't happen to you, it happens for you. I started to make this new belief that this was happening for a reason. And if I was the one that created the disease, I accepted, hey, I was always playing tennis, surfing, scuba diving in South America. I was my parents say that my sister and I learned how to swim before we learned how to walk. Imagine, so we were always in the sun. And but then later, I found out that all disease is emotional. We'll talk about in a second. But to finish your answer, it came to a point that I had another leap of faith moment, and it wasn't the best time. It's never the best time. Oh, we're gonna get a house, but we're not ready. We're gonna get if you want to get a house, get it, because sometimes you linger for 10, 12, 15 years and you still don't have the house. In my case, I had that attitude, and I said, I am going to transition into health and wellness. And in that period, I became a holistic health coach. Then I did a mastery of holistic transformational coaching, which works on changes of habits and beliefs, reframing belief. Then I went and became a Reiki master. My wife did too. She started to make a transition as well. I was the first one. She stayed in the medical world for a while more, but longer. But in my case, I made that leap of faith change and started from zero. I started from having large teams and working projects for Royal Caribbean, Serenity Cruises, Ryder Systems, Del Monte, to start solo. No assistance or anything for me. And so it was quite a tough, because we made it turned out to be a bad investment, my wife and I. So it wasn't really the right moment if you looked at it, analyzing the situation. But I knew inside of me that, surviving, God gave me the chance to sing the song I was born to sing, which is helping people. So I jumped ship. I continue to now. I continue to improve my accolades, let's say, to provide more value to my clients. And like you said it in the beginning, I work with people that are dealing with cancer, or the threat of it. The threat could be threat of recurrence, or that they don't want to get the disease. And I was just doing a talk, my last talk. I have one tomorrow, by the way, live. It's really online. But in this live on the internet, I'm not going to be there present. But I have to say that back in September in Toronto, Ontario, I met one of the speakers, was a holistic MD. He's an MD. He was on year 3 on his cancer, and he wasn't going anywhere. So he started exploring other alternatives. And I was talking to him. I say, look, I'm getting booked. It's one-on-one. I have a limitation here. I have a limit. He said, why don't you do group coaching? And I said, I tried, but people that have cancer, many of them don't feel comfortable sharing with others, sharing their situations. So he says, well, you gave this amazing stats of the U.S., how ill we are. Why don't you do group coaching for prevention, which is the same protocol? If you do this stuff, you will not get it. You will not be that statistic. So in a way, my disease helped me to really find my purpose. And for the last 7.5 years, I've been helping people transform their health and vitality. But there's a caveat there, Anthony. You have to do the work. And as I say, like I say, I'm a person of faith. Faith without action is dead, is said. And not only Jesus as an avatar, all avatars in history from other philosophies say the same thing. You have to take care of yourself. It's not a magic womb. So basically, I made the decision to help people, and I'm very, very picky about, are you sure? I know you need this, but if you want to, you have to commit. This is really an if. You have to commit to do the work we're going to do. Because after every session for 12 months, we meet the same day, the same time. And then after every session, they get action guides. But they have to continue the practice on the week before. Guess what we do, and little by little, is changing habits. And then I use hypnotherapy. I became a hypnotherapist, so I added that to my protocol, which is so powerful. Because like I told you, disease, all disease, all chronic disease is emotional. And all cancers are emotional. And that's why, by the way, if there's anybody in the audience going through cancer, or have a friend or a relative, the reason we get recurrences is because the doctors don't know what the root cause was. They just go and try to help you, get rid of the cancer cells. But you will continue to get recurrences until you find the root cause. And if somebody asks me, where's that root cause? 99% of the time is emotional. You have some emotions in there, maybe since you were little, and then obviously the connection between that and the anxiety of everyday life, being in a hurry, eating fast. As a nutritionist, I have some stuff that I'm gonna give to you guys away, but that's why I ended up being a holistic health coach. I love what I do. Now, because of the state of health of the nation, I think we discussed this last time we talked. 1 or 2 men will have cancer in their lifetime. 1 or 3 women, this is estimated by the National Cancer Institute, 1 or 3 women will have cancer in their lifetime. Right now, almost 48% of the United States adults have 1 or 2 chronic diseases already, and 33% of our population is obese. And with that brings, by the way, many diseases, chronic disease. Obesity is already a chronic disease, but you can from there, have a combination of things: heart disease, diabetes, cancer, anything that you can imagine, because you're not a healthy person. So my advocacy in a way, obviously by referrals, and when I do interviews and podcasts, many people not only approach me because they're having cancer, but many have the same type of cancer. They read my book and they say, "Man, I also have melanoma. It went to my brain." And I've had some great stories with my clients through the 7 years. Only 4 of them have decided to do the same I did, to go 100% natural. But I understand. I remember that rule of the mind. And I work with them anyway until the doctor says, "Man, I don't know what you're doing, but we're going to reduce the amount of chemo. And hey, you came clear now. You're clear." And they think it was just the chemo, but because they have many other patients, they say, "Hey, Lisa, what's going on? What are you doing?" And she explains. This is so powerful, Anthony, and I'll let you ask me some questions, but that some of the major clinics, Mayo clinics, and the one that I was in the University of Miami in Florida, and the Sylvester Cancer Institute, now they have a holistic department. So because oncologists are not psychologists, hypnotherapists, nutritionists. They know what they know, and so they cannot give you advice on anything else. "Oh, you're losing weight. No, just have this drink. Which happens to have 34 grams of sugar, which is great for cancer cells to thrive." So, and so that's great. It's starting. There is right now the integrative medicine. I love that, but we still have a long way to really understand that we could work as a group. If somebody asked me, I just said, if God forbid it came back for me, which will not, I will not go with chemo. I keep doing, I know why it will not come back, because, and I'll have a lot of stuff in a giveaway link that for you, but yeah, it's for me, it was a blessing to have the cancer, because it gave me the chance to really work on my purpose. My purpose is to help people.
Okay. Yeah, no, I mean, it's a fantastic story, and I think, like you said, 1 and 2 men, 1 and 3 women. There's so many people out there that need to hear that there is hope. Whether you're worried about it, and knowing that there's ways through it. If it does happen, it's not
Mhm.
the end of the world. Like you said, it was a blessing for you, which sounds crazy that somebody would go through such a serious life event and then be thankful about it on the other side. So how would you say that rapid transformational therapy plays a role in your coaching programs, and why do you believe it's so effective at achieving holistic health?
Um, that's a great question, Anthony. Yes, it is. It is great, and I have to tell you a little story about that. I wasn't even looking into hypnotherapy. I have one of my sons got into drinking way too much, and the siblings and my wife, he's not married. For the last 2.5 years, he has a girlfriend finally, and they're serious, and he's doing better. But I was finding ways. I was looking into to see how can I help Nico. His name is Nicholas, and I'm sure he doesn't mind. I mention his name. I'm very open in everything. I'm very clear, I guess, transparent. But so we're talking into this vegan bakery in Miami. It was this place. It's very nice, Coral Gables. They have the Miracle Mile, a bunch of nice stores, and there's this bakery. My oldest son, and my daughter, which is the only daughter and the youngest, they're vegan, and so we went and have this to this vegan bakery, and it's really like a cafe. Almost every table is on top of the other. We're very close. You could hear the other party talking, And there's a guy, a younger guy, I don't know, maybe he was 40, 35, and he was there, and we're talking. It was my son and his girlfriend and my daughter and myself, and we're talking about Nico. And Claudia says, "Well, do you think he's already an alcoholic?" And we're talking, and I just went to a retreat with natives, Apaches, and natives from Colombia, and I took the medicine called ayahuasca. It's a plant. It's a plant in the Amazon that has a lot of. They use it as a medicine. They give it to kids and stuff, and so. But it has a powerful means if you open your heart to deal with things. It's almost a way of hypnotism, but with like a dose of something that makes you get in a way high within. You purge and everything. You're cleaning a lot. But so we're talking about that, and this guy finishes his stuff, pays, and he gets up and he says, "I'm sorry, I couldn't help but to hear what your conversation." He said, "If I may, sir, do not label your son. There's no labels. You can't say whether he is or not having a drinking problem." That was number one. Second, I'm just about to go to Peru to go to do the ayahuasca, but a friend of mine told me, before you go, try RTT, rapid transformational therapy. And he says, "Yeah, I'll try it." He found there's a global database. I'm in there now, and he found a therapist in Miami. He did his session, and he says, "It changed my life. For the first time in 30 years, I talked to my mom, and now we're pals." And so I took note, and I said, "Well, I'm going to check this out on the internet." And when I saw it, I said, "Whoa, this is good for Nico. Let's maybe." But I found somebody in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and she told me, "But sir, don't pay for it. He's old enough. If you pay for him, he's not gonna really. He's not gonna transform himself. He needs to make the decision and pay for it." So I said, when I read more, I said, "Man, I should do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to become a hypnotherapist, rapid transformational therapist with that." And so before I started, I contact this lady again and say, "Hey, I'd like to be your client because I'm going to do it and I want to know what it's all about." And Anthony, I thought I had already all the breakthroughs I needed to have. But no, man, it turned out that there were still some beliefs out there that I needed to reframe. And then I tell you right now, there's several sessions for RTT. It's not only one. The main one lasts like about an hour and a half, but and I do the main one with my clients towards the end. And so far, in the last 5-6 clients since I finished in November last year, they're my best-selling people. Say, "Hey man, you gotta do this guy's protocol," and they all say one thing, "Man, I feel free. I feel that this weight that I had on my shoulder is gone. On my shoulders is gone." I mean, there's some heavy stuff. I think, wow, what a blessed child was I, because there's a lot of abuse, mental, physical, sexual. But and then other stuff, bullying and things that stay there, and when you remember them, you create cortisol and serotonin, which make your body acidic. And like I told you before the call, and it might be a good thing to say now, all disease as well, all chronic disease begin in a body that is inflamed, that is acidic. Tissues are acidic, And I'll tell you in a little bit how you get that way. It's all emotional, mental, and also eating fast and not doing your proper digestion. There's so many, everything is interconnected. We're designed in a way that if we understand it and we have the discipline to follow it, you know, you will not get sick. And really, because of the numbers that I gave you, I'm I just putting together some stuff. So now in December, so December and January, I'm going to promote this four group programs, and 4 people group, no more than that, because it's too much work. But 4 folks that want to prevent disease is not the same as 4 folks that are sick with cancer, and they're just not too open or transparent to share this stuff. But preventing is a different story, because I can have them holding each other accountable, and there's 4 people that I have at one time, Plus I need that because I don't have enough hours to do it.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's awesome. I think a lot of people, need to know about those different options. Like you said, you didn't know what you didn't know. So you were exposed to something, investigated, and it turns out to be a positive. So you're not just about health coaching. You also emphasize living a living life to the fullest. How do activities like, tennis, hiking, and spending time with the family contribute to the concept of optimum health that you promote?
Oh, yes. Great question, Anthony. Yeah, a holistic being, by the way, is not just, George's and his body. George's has another body, which is the emotional self. The other one is the mental self, and the other one is the spiritual self. What you just asked goes a lot into the spiritual side of things. We were born to move, not to be stagnant. That's why we have muscles and bones. So we have to honor that, at least in a minimum, just for going for a couple of walks a week, 15, 20 minutes. We are designed to move. Plus, when we have oxygen in our bodies, that's another thing. And nothing can grow in an oxygenated body. So you see all the benefits of doing that. But it is very important to nourish yourself, okay? And so now I'm teaching all this stuff because to answer your question, I'll give you this metaphor. I tell my clients that this metaphor of the 4-legged table. One of the legs of the table is your physical self. The other one is your emotional self. The other one is your mental self, and then your spiritual self. If one of those legs is missing, there's no way you can eat in that table. It's just the table doesn't stand. Imagine if there's 2 or 3. That's not even a table anymore. And that's what a holistic being is. It's just really trying to tight each leg of the table so it's a very, stable place or a stable body to move forward. And so for me, definitely being an athlete helped me a lot because I had already studied certain things with a national junior team with mental rehearsing and stuff like that. But when you nourish yourself, and here's why people don't do this. They claim they don't have time. Maybe I don't have time for that. Waking up a half hour earlier, for what? Well, here's the deal. Time, as everybody knows, but we don't think about it, is not a renewable resource. Look how fast this year went, and it's gone. And next year is going to be the same thing. And next thing you know, we're in our latter part of our lives looking back and say, what did I do with my time? And so starting from that principle, we have to be good stewards of our time. And no one, I was a CTO, and I grew up basically in my career. When I say grew up, I progressed in the corporate world. And this disease hits everybody. An employee, an executive, a poor person, no matter your race or your financial situation, it hits anyone. There's no prejudice on this thing, but the main thing with this time is take some time for yourself because it's your time. Manage it so you are the first person in that routine of the day. And if you do that, many people don't do it in the morning, they prefer to do it at night. But most folks, if you talk to a CEO, most CEOs or very, very successful entrepreneurs, they all have their nourishing time, their time. And it's usually, they call it time for me, or it's usually in the morning. And so part of my protocol, Anthony, is as I go through the 90 days, because we work each leg of the table and through also hypnotism stuff, but it's also helping them create their own sanctuary at home. And I give them some tips of, find a place that is going to become your comfort place to be there 10, 15 minutes in the beginning. You don't want to be running. You have to start crawling first. To be there by yourself in silence. Maybe you can journal afterward, but it's your time for you. If you start doing that, and then obviously we work there from the get-go, so they go 21 days, the first 21 days, it's not really that easy. But then as you progress, you're saying, man, maybe I go for 25 minutes. This is good. I feel better. I go with a different perspective during the day, more energy, better decisions. I'm not that stressed because you breathe. You start your day healthy. And then anywhere in the middle of the day that you feel some, hey, all it takes is 2 or 3 deep breaths in your car or wherever you are. Nobody can even notice that you're doing that, and your mood changes right away. Oxygen in your body slow down. So yeah, basically on your question, it is very important, and I really honor that. I have a 2-hour nourishment time in the mornings, but I learned how to wake up at 5, and then I go to bed no later. If it's really late, it's 10:30 at night. But I wake up at 5, even if I don't have an alarm clock. And for some days that I go spinning, I do some biking in the gym. I wake up at 4:45 because it starts at 5. I live right there. But it is so important to nourish yourself. And it doesn't have to be, especially for women, going to the gym. I have to prepare to go to the gym, and then I have to take care of the kids, and then myself before I go out of the house. That's it. You already said no. No, just you can do it at home. You can get yourself a nice program in YouTube and just follow it, or go for a walk. You don't have to go to the gym or become a competitor in any sports. Just do some movement, and I'm sorry, and that would be good for you. But nourishing yourself is very important.
Okay. Just to kind of get it a little concise, so it's a good starting point for people. You've been doing this for years. You've lived through it. You've helped people through it. What are the secrets? Just at a high level, what are the secrets to prevent disease? How do people prevent chronic diseases?
I tell you, Anthony, you're a great host. Yes, great question. Let me put it this way. The sun has a cycle of 365 or 366 days to go around, the earth. That's the cycle of the sun. The moon is 28 days. Us humans is 24 hours. If we learn to honor our cycle, which includes 6 to 8 hours of good sleep every day, and the sleep is not to digest. Many people make the mistake of not eating during the day, and then at night they have a horse for dinner an hour before they go to sleep. But what happens with that is, and so now you go to sleep, you're not going to sleep good enough, even if you think you did, because you're spending 2.5 or 3 hours digesting. The energy that is supposed to be used to detox and restore is used to do your digestion. So now all of a sudden you only have 2 or 3 hours to to detox and digest instead of 6 or 8. So that it starts by understanding your cycle and say, look, breakfast is king, lunch is queen, and dinner is poor man's plate. It has to be your lightest situation, and if it's not, for whatever reasons, make sure you have your dinner at least 3 hours before you go to bed. So when you go to bed, you've already finished your digestion and your body's ready to restore and detox. If we disrupt that, we are already a walking bomb where the body's gonna say, here's your medical bill. That's one part. The other one is to slow down. You know, we live in a very noisy and fast-paced world, not only just in the United States. And nobody's telling us, go in a hurry, get up in the morning, and you're already thinking, even from the night before, what you're gonna do, and you have this anxiety because no, man, it's in the present moment. So get up, be thankful that you open your eyes, because we cannot guarantee that tomorrow we're gonna wake up anyway. So be thankful, spend a few minutes for your own, even if you don't cut on, get up earlier, but start for you. Start a few minutes, just taking a few deep breaths, find a little corner. I had no one said, oh, I didn't like this. Most people say, my goodness, if I knew this. So that's one part. The other part is to slow down. Make sure, I told you that all disease starts in a inflamed body, meaning it's too acidic. So we need to work on what creates the acidity in the body, and so that way we can actually say, okay, we can get rid of it. If you don't have acidity in your body, if you have what they call a balanced pH body inside, disease cannot grow in there. And if you're ill with cancer, like I was, and I'm talking about myself, like you said, this is not theory. It's me saying what worked for me, because I went to a naturopath. But he said, you're so acidic with the chemo. I mean, and I saw it. I saw it on a scan that it's not really hurtful. It is not invasive. It was some cables that he put in the palm of my hands, in my head, in my feet, in my heart. And so he started this thing, not FDA approved, came from Germany. And I could see in the screen, my inside. It looked like a 4th of July. It was all lit up. And he said, that's all acidity. And guess what? That's where cancer cells strive. So you're fighting, this stuff with this, it's almost like fumigating, a fumigator coming to take the ants out of your kitchen. If you then don't do anything else, they're gonna come back. So he says, if we get your body balanced, this disease will go away, because you're killing the environment of acidity. So eventually they cannot live inside of you. So this is really the major one. But how do you do that? Well, first of all, is cleaning your emotional and mental clutter. We need to be less stressed. And I tell you this as a nutritionist. Imagine that you're having an amazing plate, your lunch in this nice little park, and all of a sudden you see this bear coming. I mean, he's just charging towards you. You have two choices: get up and fight this bear, or fly and get out of there. And you're having your lunch. So the question is, what happens to that digestion when all of a sudden your body naturally produces adrenaline and cortisol for you to fly, get the hell out of there? And so your digestion at that moment freezes, Anthony. It just freezes. So the stomach right now has no other choice but whatever it had, it moves it into fat, and fat becomes acidic. But that's an extreme case. However, your nervous system, there is a connection, I say this, I'm not getting too technical, between the gut and the brain, called the vagus nerve. And it tells, the brain tells the gut, hey, Anthony's pretty stressed out. And guess what? The parasympathetic system, which is the fight or flight, doesn't know if it was a bear or if you just have an argument with somebody got in the office, or if you were stressed in traffic and you didn't make it to an appointment. It doesn't know. All it knows is that you're producing cortisol, and it wasn't a bear. It was you're just stressed out. So that's one way. One way to do something in terms of digestion is take a couple deep breaths before you're gonna go eat, and slow down when you're eating. So now it's, oh yeah, no, now Georges is relaxed. We can have a good digestion. And because if you don't have a good digestion, you start, like I said, the body, the gut starts storing fat. For women, it's in the butt and the thighs. For us, it's in front of us, our gut. And so here's the best tip to avoid having an acidic body. We need to slow down. The average American, by the way, and I have to say this because this is key. We chew 6 times before we swallow. That's in the average. Some people might chew 10 times, some people even less. I've seen people having a foot long, my wife and I, Subway, in 3 minutes, and he left. We looked at each other and said, man, this kid is gonna get sick at one point, because you have to take your time. Why? We need to chew between 20 and 32 times, depend on what we put in our mouth. But digestion, my friends, start in the mouth. So as you chew, the saliva enzymes processes the food, and our digestive tract, which is perfect, a perfect machine, gets disrupted if you don't do that, and you swallow something that is food that is not processed by the saliva enzymes because you didn't chew enough. Now the stomach doesn't know what to do, and it sends stuff to fat. 2 things happen there. The fat ultimately starts becoming acidic, but secondly, because you didn't move the nutrients through your bloodstream, in half hour you're hungry again. So you do the same thing, the same cycle, and you eat fast again. Wow, I'm hungry again at 2 hours later. And that's why how people end up with acidic bodies. And even though we feel good, some stuff is happening in there. So the idea is preventing this stuff. If you learn these things, and I teach you, and you'll see, we'll talk about stuff that I'm going to share with you guys. I do have an ebook that I wrote about a balanced pH on your health, based on what I learned with this naturopath, which he passed away 2 years ago. He was already, pretty old when I saw him. But I also offer this alkaline table that shows you which foods are acidic, which foods are alkaline, so you can combine them. I teach my clients, combine these things in a restaurant. As for, let's say you want to have a nice steak, or order it with a salad with greens, order it with asparagus, something that is alkaline. So in between the acidity of the red meat and the alkalinity of the veggies, you have a balanced pH plate. So you kind of you learn how to eat stuff that maintain your balanced pH. I must say, if you drink sodas, one kind of soda, it doesn't matter the brand, has between 9 and 11 or 12 teaspoons of refined sugar. In order to alkaline your body from one kind of soda, my friend, you need to drink 32 glasses of water. So imagine those folks that have, a supersize for lunch and another one for dinner. Maybe they have in the middle of the morning a diet soda. I'm not gonna say names. You are up, that acidity, you need to make sure to alkaline that. But if you don't know this and you don't drink enough water during the day, which, by the way, I'm sharing how to water guide in my giveaway, but you have to put it into action, like I told you in the beginning, and that's what I tell my clients. I don't have many spots left, so and I say, look, if you're willing to do the work, it's like now in January, in 2 months, it's the moment of New Year resolution, and everybody has this intention for whatever resolution they're looking for. But in March, more than 90% are gone. So an intention without action becomes an illusion. And this is year after year after year. Okay, this year I'm gonna, and they start, but they don't have the accountability. Maybe they need a coach to help them out. But that's what I'm talking about. I mean, all this stuff that I told you, many people will say, I kind of know this, but I don't practice it. So that's where you need the coach. I feel blessed that I didn't have a coach, but I really looked, and maybe it was my faith. Seek and you shall find, and I really looked at many areas that really create the acidity in the body. The other thing that creates acidity in the body is stress, obviously, and so if you're stressed out, it's worse in your digestion. If you have emotional clutter, that you may be eating and hear a song and it reminds you of an unpleasant memory, you produce cortisol at that moment. So the whole idea with the holistic self is to clear the clutter in each of the legs of the table, including the spiritual, which, by the way, doesn't have to be a religion. It's really embracing the connection with this source that created this beautiful planet, embracing trees, a mountain, the ocean, a rose. Can you imagine if we find a rose in Mars? It would make the world news in seconds. Oh, there's a rose there, but here you pass by one, and my second book, by the way, is that Stop and Smell the Roses. Because we're such in a hurry until, let's say, maybe, God forbid, it doesn't happen to any of us, but we're in a hospice home, wishing that we had a few years on us so we can do the things that we said we were going to do. Oscar Wilde, by the way, and I have this quote in my books, is, humans are the strangest things in the world. All we do is exist. We don't want to live the same life 85 years, says another guy that I read, is one of my mentors. I don't know him, but I read many of his books. We need to make some changes in finding our purpose. What you're doing, and I said, that's awesome, because you found your niche. And you'll be great because you love what you're doing. It's based on what we talked last time. You're really in tune with what you do, and that's what I help my clients as well, is to transform your life, your health and vitality, so you can live your best life and with purpose. Many of the diseases also has that component of people just always wondering, what was I born for? Especially as you're getting close to your 40s. What is it that I'm here for? I know that I was supposed to get married and duplicate, just procreate. That's part of the nature of us, but what else? And so, yeah.
Okay. Is there anything else you wanted to mention before we head out? I think you were talking about a giveaway.
Yeah. I have, I'm going to send you the links for all this stuff. People can find me on my website. It's a good place, but I'll send you other links. In this particular link, it's a freebie, a giveaway. I created a folder in my a Google Drive account in the cloud, and it's this link. You have access to about a little over $600 worth of copy that I use in my protocol, my program. For example, this ebook, A Balanced pH and Your Health. It'll explain exactly what all the myths about acidity and because there's some acidity that we produce, for example, when we exercise, which is good. That acidity is, you are releasing it when you exercising. It's another reason that we need to move. You sweat all the acidity that might be in the body. That's one way to do it, obviously through our poop and our urine, but it explains everything that you need to know about how to maintain a a balanced pH. I have some recipes in there, some juices, and that you can actually start taking, doing. As you can also have a little strip that you can buy in any pharmacy and check your acidity and see how you are. That's one thing. I have a table that explains which foods are acidic or alkaline. I have the 12 rules of the mind. We didn't touch. We could talk for 3 hours, but the rules of the mind is very powerful. I have a document there that gives you the supplements that are to boost your immune system. I have a how to water guide, which is really important. Most people are they're not hydrated enough, and we are men 70% water, and women a little more because of all the stuff for birth and stuff. They're 75% water. So that's very important to be hydrated. Sometimes you think you're hungry, and what you are is your body's looking for water, not Coke, not coffee or anything. I love coffee, but I know that I have my water always almost full. I try to do 62 ounces of water, which is about eight to 10. I do about 10 because I sweat. Then there's another one that is how to sleep tips. And this is all this stuff really help that 24-hour human cycle. Okay. Then there's another one in that one, and two meditations, guided meditations for forgiveness, one for men, one for women. So the audience, you yourself can share with your wife and or anybody that is the different gender. And I'm going to add a couple other things. There's a prayer for transformation, health transformation, and a couple other things that I had not put in there, but I'm going to add them. So, for example, a few tips of how to create your own sanctuary in the mornings, and find like a quiet space in your house. Obviously, the earlier you wake up, the more silence you will have, and so I'll put that in there as well. So there's a lot of stuff in there that you don't have to read all at once, but will give you some like a good base start if you want to put those things into practice. Some of how to eat tips, just go slower. I call it sensual eating. We get in front of a plate and we just start eating. We don't even think about anything else. We're just thinking about what we need to do after we eat. Oh, I have to eat. That's it. But if you slow down, drop your fork when you put food in your mouth, just make sure that you chew more than 10 times. Start with 15 times. And all of a sudden, play with your family. Do it like when you're eating as a family. Oh, let's see who chews the most before we swallow. And now you're teaching everybody to do something, even subconsciously. And then you say, well, we're supposed to chew that much more, And so all this stuff, all those tips are in there. I'm going to send you all this link so people can go in there. You can actually book a clarity or discovery call in my website, through my website. There's an intake form that you have to fill out. But also I'll give you a link from a Calendly, so they can do it directly there. And that's pretty much it.
Perfect. Yeah, I'll be sure to get all those links from you and put them in the description so nobody has to hunt for it. So absolutely reach out to Georges if you resonated with him at all. He's absolutely the exact same person the previous time I met with him as to this one. So real authentic. Just have that conversation. See if there's something that might connect with you. People they talk to coaches and they're like, well, I can figure it out myself. Yeah, but there's a shortcut, right? Somebody that's went through it, dealt with the hardships, can come back and pour into you, and you'll be better off by taking those shortcuts. But other than that, if anybody else out there would like to be interviewed, feel free to reach out to me directly. I'll have my link tree in the description below as well. So feel free to book a time with me. Or if you're shy and you want an introduction, a three-way introduction with Georges, feel free to ask me that as well. I'll be more than happy to do that. But other than that, Georges, I really appreciate your time. I really appreciate your story, you sharing that with us. It's super impactful. I think as many people need to hear it as is possible. So anything that we can do to help you out in that area, I'd love to do that as well. But other than that, I appreciate it. Let's all go out there, work on our health, and meet some more people. All right.
Yeah, and thank you. Thank you for having me in the show. I appreciate it.
It was my pleasure. Thanks.
Thank you.